Kinunners and Blaze, and welcome to another Tri-Point Podcast mini episode today. Basically, this is the episodes that we do if there's an issue and either one of us can't make it or something like that, and we can't do a full podcast episode. In this case, it's because we actually did record the full podcast episode, and then we had technical issues where I lost my audio and Kinunners' audio broke during the middle of it or something like that. Well, her audio recording software stopped during the middle of the recording. Therefore, yeah, I decided simply rather than trying to redo the podcast over again and discuss our thoughts on everything again, to simply do a mini version this time because I didn't see any reason to do the full thing again. It'd be nowhere near the same. Therefore, yeah, I've got my list of topics here that I can go over. And the first one is there's a new Lumines game. I don't know how you exactly say it. I've been playing the Lumines games for ages. I've got the one on the Vita and one on the Switch. They're fun. I like them. They're fun little puzzle games. There's a new one releasing on November the 11th. I believe it was announced a little bit ago. I didn't realize until like yesterday. Therefore, yeah. Next up, Atari acquires the rights from Ubisoft. Some video game rights. None necessarily as notable for me, other than two of them, which are Grow Home and Grow Up. I'm curious to see what Atari do and how, why. It's a bit strange. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Atari might make new games or re-release them or do something. I have no idea. There is a report claiming that Nintendo is telling devs to release on the Switch instead of providing dev kits to them, which is frustrating. Like, I'm assuming some devs really want to make something for the Switch too, and they can't because this Nintendo's being like, oh yeah, simply make it for the Switch 1, even if they want to be a little bit more ambitious and the Switch 1 can't handle it. That causes issues, I guess. The Final Fantasy VII Remake will be 30 frames per second on Switch, which is kind of disappointing, to be completely honest. I was hoping it would be a little bit more, at least 40, to simply smooth it out. I think, well, they say it will be stable, which is good. Like, a stable 30 FPS is fine. I simply wish 40 would have given it a little bit more smoothness, and I definitely think the Switch 2 could handle it. I don't know. It's strange. Apparently, according to the Sakana financial reports, which is, I think, the American one, I want to say. I might be wrong about that. The Switch 2 is the best-selling system of 2025, which I think that's really neat. I mean, I think that's amazing, considering it only came out in, June? Therefore, it's already it's already passed other consoles that have been coming out for years, for starters, and coming out all year. Yeah, I don't know, it's neat. Minecraft next drop has its name. It's called the Copper Age, which I think is a really smart name for, I don't know, I kind of like that, because you have, like, an age of materials, generally, in real life, whenever there's, like, a new one and all that sort of thing. Yeah, the Copper Age. That's really neat. I like that. And there is rumors, or I don't know, thoughts, I guess. Nothing confirmed or concrete, I guess, about Minecraft having another ocean update, or an aquatic update too, or something like that, which is, yeah, that's pretty neat. I like that. There is, as well, rumors and stuff like that about a September Direct that's been going around, possibly around the 11th or 12th of September. Excited for that. I'm assuming they'll show things like Metro Prime and all that sort of thing. Hopefully, fingers crossed. That would be very upset. Yeah, hopefully we get some release dates for Metro Prime, Hyrule Warriors, and all that sort of thing. Some more game stuff, maybe stuff on the new Tomodachi Life that's coming out next year, and Rhythm Heaven and all that sort of thing. Hopefully, Alamo is getting a Kirby themed update, which makes sense. There's a lot of Kirby stuff happening at the moment. Therefore, it'd be strange. I mean, it's just strange to think that it didn't really have any Kirby stuff before, I would imagine. I don't know. Strange. Anyway, Yooka Replaylee has a release date. It's coming out the 9th of October. The physical will be more expensive, however it's meant to have extra goodies. I'm not 100% sure what that means, or what the extra goodies will be. I'm hoping it's not going to be simply stickers. I hope it's going to be like a little bit of an art book or something like that. Fingers crossed. In between, an actual piece of information that did come between us recording the full podcast yesterday and this one today, there's a new Rayman game in development, which is very exciting. We like the Rayman games here. We've played both Origins and Legends, and I've dabbled in the original one a little bit, and then there's the 3D ones as well, which I've heard are really good. I don't know. I'm excited. I hope it comes out really good. They discuss it like a AAA Rayman game, I believe, which is it'll be interesting to see how that comes out, I think. And then there's some few bigger things to talk about, I guess. The first one is Nintendo's released a bunch of Mario shorts on their second channel, like Nintendo Play or something like that it's called. um, and they're all funny. They're fun little things. They don't go for very long. They're all stop motion. The first one is Mario having problems with his mustache, trying to brush it and everything like that. I think it shows a lot of character and personality, especially when he gets Wario's mustache and he seems very, very upset. The most concerned Mamma Mia I've ever heard out of Mario. The second one is him in his hat that gets stuck on a question mark block and he has to try jump up. I think this one is pretty notable because it shows off things like the wall jump and stuff like that, which isn't usually something we see in media sides of Mario. It's only really in the main games and stuff like that. Therefore, I think seeing it in the media where he wall jumps, and not only does it show off the wall jump, it shows like not necessarily advanced wall jumping, I guess, however, like more difficult wall jumping where like the blocks are separate and all that sort of thing. I don't know. I think that's neat. I kind of like that. I hope there's more things like that later on. And then the final one is, I can't even remember. Oh, the shell. There's a shell that he kicks, and it like bounces back off a question mark block, which it gets stuck onto for a surprising amount of time, and comes back at him and hits him, and he spins around in circles. I don't know. There's not much to them. They're meant for kids. However, like they're adorable. They're small little shorts, and I actually kind of hope we get more. I am surprised, unless I didn't see it, I am surprised they didn't get released on Nintendo Today. That's odd. And it as well coincides with like there's an It's a Me and Mario app on the Switch or something like that. I haven't looked at it or anything like that, however I know it exists. And I don't know, I think this is personally I feel like this is sort of ramping up for the 40th anniversary. That could be what the September Direct is going to talk about a lot as well, because that's what the September Direct did back in 2020 for the 35th anniversary, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, exciting. Hopefully the 40th anniversary stuff will be revealed to us soon. Fingers crossed. Yeah, although otherwise those shorts are really nice. I think the animation for the most part, I'm not the biggest fan of stop motion. However, I think it looks fine enough. Mario's model, I think his head might be a little bit too big. Otherwise though, I think it's quite nice. It's very basic though. There's like not much in the backgrounds. There's simply basic colors and stuff like that. And whatever happens on screen is like all any other objects and stuff like that are pretty basic. I do like the mirror in the mustache one though, because it has like a head of a toad, because heads would be different on mirrors and stuff like that. I think that's neat. I like that. Next up, what have I got here? I'll talk about Reforj. I like Reforj a lot. I really, really want to play the game. I like it, and I haven't even played it. However, they did a release trailer for Title Update 4, which has things like the bracer upgrades. Therefore, like the bracer is what you use to mine in Reforj, and there's an upgrade, a path for it essentially, basically like upgrading picks in Minecraft. There's the boom shroom, which is there was another one before it, another enemy that was in a cave, and I can't remember what it's called. Kinunners remembered what it was yesterday. There's the boom shroom, which is like it looks like a glowing mushroom in the ground, and it comes out and essentially attacks you. I think it's funny. I do like that there's enemies. Oh, it's like a stalagmite, the other one. It's like, yeah, something like that. However, I do like how there's enemies specific to caves. Minecraft doesn't really have that. It has the warden and cave spiders, and that's basically about it. The warden's not really even that. Like the warden's specifically for the deep dark, and then cave spiders are. I mean, they're a variant of spiders to start with, and then there's like they're only in like specific spots. Therefore, I like the idea that there's like specific enemies for inside of caves in Reforged. That's a fun idea. The cylinder tool, which allows you to shape things into cylinders, I like it. I kind of wish that other things attached to it a bit better, though. It does kind of look a little bit awkward because nothing attaches to it the way it is. I don't know. I hope that they'll probably change that in the future. However, yeah, the cylinder tool, which is neat. They added the workbench, and there's like all this like, which is essentially the crafting table, and then they've had like storage and stuff like that as well. There's a kiln for cooking things. You can cook. Well, no, the kiln is for smelting materials, and then the campfire is for cooking things. That's what it is. An ember leaf, which essentially acts as like I don't know, a flint and steel, or like fuel, I think, as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's neat. It allows you to light things, cook things. They added cooking, as I was sort of saying, as you can do that on the campfire and stuff. Then they added furniture. I kind of like it. I like that it has like tables and chairs. I was sort of saying in the podcast that we tried to record yesterday that it would be nice if they sort of try to limit the designs. Like, I understand having different materials, and if they want to change the designs per material, that's great. However, I don't want, like, say you want, I don't know, let's say it's basic wood. I don't even know the wood types in Reforj. Have the basic wood. If I want a basic wood table, I don't want to have a basic wood table with a triangle base, a basic wood table with a square base, stuff like that. Like, I think that gets too complicated, and then it fills up the like the crafting menus way too much and stuff like that. I think simply having like a basic table, maybe a long table if they want to do that as well. Yeah, I don't know. Keeping it basic and then having the different materials for it, I think would be nice. Maybe have a stool and then a normal chair. Don't have like 30 different types of stools. I mean, they can if they want. However, I simply do feel like it will probably clunk up the amount of like space. Like, it'll be like looking for a whole bunch of tables. I know they can probably sort it into like little folders, I guess, of their own to do it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if they do that, I feel like I'd like that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. However, it, my current thoughts are on it. Like, I really like the idea of furniture. However, I really hope they don't go a little bit too far and start adding only furniture, essentially, the whole time around. Yeah, that's it, though, for that. The Reforged Title Update 4. I don't know, very excited to eventually ever get to play this game. I really, really want to play it. I will hopefully get there one day. That would be nice. Pokemon news. Mega Hawlucha has been shown off in a trailer. Kinunners and I were both saying we're not the biggest fans of Hawlucha as a Pokemon, personally for both of us. Yeah, we're both not the biggest fan of Hawlucha in general. His Mega Evolution is neat, however, like, it simply looks like Hawlucha with a different costume on. Maybe he's a little bit bigger. I said yesterday in the podcast he almost looks like a Victorian times person with like the fluffy, well, not the fluffy, like the frilly like neck pieces and stuff like that. And then like the baggy trousers and stuff like that. I don't know, I think he looks kind of funny. I do, I mean, I was hoping that like for every Mega Evolution I'm going to do one of those sort of trailers like they did with the Victory Bell one. Apparently not. It's fine, I guess. I do like that this trailer does have a lot of character to it and stuff like that, and I can't wait to see what other Mega Evolutions there are. At the moment, though, it is 2 for 2 of Pokemon we're not the biggest fan of. That is subjective. I understand that. I'm really happy for anybody who does like this. However, I would like a Mega Swallow. I know that's probably not going to happen because no one ever thinks about Taylor or Swallow, really. Sad. However, that's what I would like personally. And then I think lastly, I'll have another quick look over this. Got that. Said that. Talked about Mario. Talked about the Reforge update. Talked about Final Fantasy VII. Talked about Switch 2 being the best-selling system on Sakana. Talked about the Copper Age. Talked about Mega Hawlucha. Talked about the September Direct. Talked about Yooka Replaylee, Alamo, and Rayman. Good. The last thing is the Sonic Racing CrossWorlds animation that released. We did like a mini review on it, I guess, in the original version of the podcast. And we really like it. I think it's animated fairly similarly to the Team Sonic Racing one. I like that as well. I was kind of hoping for like another thing like the Team Sonic Racing one where there's multiple episodes to it. It looks like this is going to be the animation for it, and it's much more based around Shadow than I would have expected, considering what the game's called. I understand that Shadow is extremely popular, and they will do that simply to make it, I don't know, people want to watch it and stuff like that. I think it's really neat looking. I find it interesting that Team Chaotix wasn't in it at all, considering how much they were showing off SBO recently. Yeah, I think it's very well animated. It looks really nice. Like all the cars are like extremely detailed, like to the point that they go into the engines, like, and show off parts of that in some scenes. Neat. I like that a lot. For some reason, Shadow has like the worst luck in this entire race. Like, he started out last for starters, and Sonic was first for some reason. And then like Shadow was like constantly against everything on his way up to Sonic, where I feel like Sonic was practically like coasting along at the front until Shadow got there. That's what it seems like anyway, because like Sonic, I don't know, it almost feels like Shadow got everything on the track, where Sonic got like, he was that far ahead that like nothing seemed to bother him at all. And then like, yeah, I like that Shadow, during the animation, Shadow had like multiple different, like, I guess, rivals in the animation itself. Like, at first he was like up against the the Babylon Rogues against Jet, Wave, and Storm and stuff like that, and managed to take them out. And then there was a little bit there where it was up against Eggman and stuff. Eggman managed to get like a what's it called, a monster truck, and chased him down over the water and everything like that. For a little bit, and then he managed to get rid of Eggman for a little while, and then it was up against Sonic. Oh, there's this whole thing as well where he was like, I like how he was characterized, where he was really helping Rouge and all that sort of thing. I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, that's that though. He defeated Sonic barely. He managed to get first in the race, and then that was the end of the animation. He did it like Sonic and like he and Sonic had like this massive like hitting each other with the car argument for ages. They were going that fast that they're melting the machinery around them and all that sort of thing. Interesting way to do things. I don't know. Yeah, really fun though. I really do like this new era. I mean new. I don't know what I mean. Sega's been doing it for ages. There was animations for like Unleashed when they came out. Have like this. I always like the idea of having little animations that go alongside the games, or little existing media that go alongside the games. I'm curious to see what they, if they do any more. I doubt they will. I do prefer how they did it with Team Sonic Racing and Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, where like Team Sonic Racing had like a few episodes, 3 or 4 or something like that, going over something, and then there's a Sonic Cross Shadow Generations had like the whole Shadow prologue animation thing. That was neat as well. I think they're all I think they're all Tyson Hess. I'm pretty sure. They look like Tyson Hess stuff. I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not 100% on that though. Looks nice though. Cannot complain. I think it would have been nice though, as I was saying, with with having multiple episodes. I think you could have focused on, because it's like this is the big return of Jet. They keep going on about Jet and everything with all that sort of stuff. Therefore, I think it would have been neat to have that sort of thing. And then an animation surrounding some of the third-party characters that, I mean, I know there's some like that they probably wouldn't be able to put in. Have an animation where like Joker comes in, or Hatsune Miku or something like that. I think that would have been funny to have an animation directed like specific for that as well. Like, cause I know in CrossWorlds itself they don't like a lot of the third-party characters don't talk, because then they need to get all the licensing and stuff like that for that. They didn't really do that because nobody talked in the animation either. Therefore, I don't know, I think it would have been funny, like having one dedicated to Shadow like this, one dedicated to like the Babylon Rogues, one to like the third parties or something like that. All like the newer features, I guess, or the newer or returning features, I guess, from the game, and simply showing them off in an animation, getting people excited. I don't think anyone would complain if there was like an animation where like Joker and Hatsune Miku like teamed up or something like that. I think it would be like silly. I don't know, maybe a little bit cringy even in some points. However, like it'd be fun at the end of the day. Like, I don't know. I think that'd be funny altogether. There's like, oh, what was it? There's like the Yakuza stuff as well and things like that. I think that would be hilarious. Otherwise, yeah, the animation's really nice. I do like it a lot. I simply wish there was more, because I don't know. I guess I'm being greedy about it. Other than that, though, that is the topics that I had to talk about today. As for the poll, I believe 2 people voted yes for wanting more animations, like the Victory Bell one that came out, which I completely agree on. I think that'd be great. I guess another thing I want to point out is next week the podcast should be back to normal. There should be no reason why it isn't. A couple of days ago we did do if anyone's wondering why I didn't talk about CrossWorlds as much in this, a couple of days ago we did do a video that came out about CrossWorlds, because we all played the network tests, like Kinunners and I and our brother, we all played the network test together. Only Kinunners and I are talking about it, stuff in it though. Yeah, we all played it together and we had a really good time, and we talk about that there and go into a little bit more detail about our thoughts on it. Otherwise though, yeah, that will be the end of this podcast here. I'm sure the poll will have something to do with something that I was talking about. Maybe the animation, maybe the Reforj update. I don't know, maybe the Mario shorts. Maybe Atari acquiring something from Ubisoft. Maybe we can ask like what Grow Home or Grow Up will have to do with anything. Maybe we can ask about if Mega Hawlucha is well liked or not. I don't know, rate the Mega Hawlucha trailer thingy. I don't know. We can talk about Rayman. Otherwise though, yeah, that'll be the end of this episode of the podcast Lite from me. As I said, next episode of it should be back to normal. this episode wasn't planned to be like this anyway. Therefore, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Thank you for listening, and we shall be back in the next one, despite it only being me. Anyway, cheers everyone.